Every blockbuster leaves footage on the cutting room floor, and Spider-Man Brand New Day is no exception. Whole scenes were shot, finished, and then quietly deleted before the movie ever reached theaters. And some of what got trimmed is genuinely fascinating. So let's break down the 4 biggest scenes that were reportedly filmed for Brand New Day and never made the final cut. Scenes usually get cut for one of 3 reasons: runtime, the rating, or continuity. Remarkably, Brand New Day's deleted scenes managed to hit all 3 of those reasons at once. These were not rough ideas abandoned on a whiteboard. Based on the reports, these were shot on camera and then removed. Here is exactly what we are missing. A quick note on where this all comes from. Details like these surface through cast interviews, crew leaks, and the deleted scene lists that trickle out around a big release. So treat them as strongly reported, not studio confirmed. Marvel rarely confirms a cut scene until the home release, but when several sources describe the exact same footage, it is usually because that footage genuinely exists. A surprise hospital cameo, a massive villain team-up, a batch of disturbing nightmare sequences, and a tense Punisher standoff. 4 very different scenes, cut for 4 very different reasons. Let's take them one at a time, starting with the deleted scene that almost nobody saw coming. First up is the deleted scene fans are talking about most. After one of the movie's most brutal fights, a badly injured Peter Parker is rushed into a hospital, and the person who treats him is a very familiar face. Because, according to reports, Rosario Dawson filmed a cameo as Claire Temple, a character longtime Marvel fans already know extremely well. Here is how the moment reportedly played out. Peter, beaten and barely conscious after an especially vicious fight, gets wheeled into a hospital, his suit and mask peeled away as the medical team scrambles to save him. For a few agonizing seconds, the most protected secret in his life is lying fully exposed on an operating table. And then a calm, knowing nurse steps in to take over. Claire Temple, nicknamed the Night Nurse, was a cornerstone of Marvel's old Netflix shows. She patched up Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist, the medic the street-level corner of Marvel quietly relied on. She is the one person heroes trust to stitch them back together without asking the wrong questions. Which is exactly why her turning up in a Spider-Man film would matter so much. The scene reportedly solved a real story problem. When an unconscious Peter gets stripped of his mask and suit by medical staff, how exactly does his secret identity survive the emergency room? Claire Temple is the answer. She has spent years guarding the identities of masked heroes, so letting her handle Peter keeps his secret safe in a way that actually makes sense. So why cut such a clever moment? Reportedly, to avoid dragging the audience into years of tangled Netflix continuity that most casual viewers have simply never seen. A deep cut cameo is a gift for hardcore fans, but a confusing detour for everyone else. In the end, clean storytelling won out over the Easter egg. Still, think about what it quietly hinted at. A direct thread connecting Spider-Man to the grounded, street-level Netflix corner. The same corner Daredevil now lives in inside the MCU. With Daredevil already circling Brand New Day, a Claire Temple cameo would have stitched these 2 worlds neatly together. For now, that thread stays cut. It would also have deepened a connection this channel has covered before. Daredevil is quietly being woven into the Brand New Day corner of the MCU, and Claire is the character who links him to everyone else. One nurse, and suddenly Spider-Man, Daredevil, and the whole grounded Defenders world share a single hospital. That is exactly the kind of quiet connective tissue Marvel loves to plant. Cutscene number 2 is the one action fans are going to mourn. Brand New Day reportedly filmed a large-scale sequence built to recreate classic comic book cover layouts. Picture a huge assembly of villains posed like a splash page brought to life. An entire rogues gallery filling the screen all at once. The sequence was designed as an early action montage, gathering the movie's secondary villains into a single sweeping moment, the kind of image that normally only exists on a comic cover or a poster. Villains like Scorpion, Tombstone, and the symbiote Threat, all sharing one frame. For a lifelong Spider-Man fan, that is an absolute dream shot. The idea has deep comic roots. Spider-Man's greatest stories often gather his foes into teams. The Sinister Six, the Sinister 12, villains uniting to finally overwhelm a single hero. Recreating one of those iconic team-up covers in live action would have been a direct love letter to decades of Spider-Man history. So why lose it? Plain runtime. A big villain montage is expensive screen time that does not push the main story forward, and the film was reportedly already running long. When a movie has to choose between a cool splash page and a tight story, the story almost always wins. The team-up shot became a casualty of pacing, and losing it may cost more than a cool shot. A villain assembly like that is how you plant the seeds for a future team-up, a live-action Sinister Six that fans have begged to see for decades. By cutting the montage, Brand New Day quietly delayed that payoff. The Rogues Gallery is clearly all there, but the movie chose not to line them up. Not yet, anyway. The third cut is the darkest of the bunch. Brand New Day reportedly filmed a set of intense nightmare sequences showing Peter Parker physically mutating into something monstrous. We are talking multi-armed, multi-eyed transformations, Peter twisting into the creature the comics call the Man-Spider. At its core, the nightmare is not really about monsters. It is about Peter's deepest fear, that the spider could one day swallow the man, and that he might wake up no longer fully himself. The deleted sequences reportedly made that fear literal, forcing Peter to watch his own body warp and betray him in his sleep, night after night. This was not invented for the movie. In the comics, Peter has mutated more than once, most famously sprouting 6 arms and later twisting into a feral, spider-like beast. It is one of the oldest body horror ideas in Spider-Man lore, the creeping fear that the spider inside him could one day take over completely. And this connects to something you may have already glimpsed. The Brand New Day marketing teased a mutating Peter Parker, so these nightmares were part of that very same transformation thread. The deleted footage reportedly pushed that idea far further and far more graphically than the final film was ever willing to show. So why were they trimmed? The rating. The full versions were reportedly graphic enough to threaten the film's PG-13, veering into genuine body horror. For a 4-quadrant Spider-Man blockbuster, nightmare fuel that intense is a hard sell, so the transformations were dialed back to keep the movie accessible to everyone. Trimming it kept the rating safe, but it also softened one of the movie's boldest swings, a genuine Spider-Man horror story hiding inside a superhero film. Some fans will be relieved, others will quietly wish the film had trusted them with the scarier, stranger, more ambitious version of Peter's story. The final cut is a tense one. Reports point to extra footage of the Punisher in a direct confrontation with local law enforcement. Set in the aftermath of the movie's Staten Island events, it would have put Frank Castle face to face with the police. For anyone new to him, the Punisher is Frank Castle, a former soldier waging a brutal one-man war on crime. He does not wear a cape, he carries a body count. That is exactly what makes him a lightning rod. A confrontation between Frank and the police forces a hard moral question the movie may not have wanted to answer head-on. The scene reportedly followed the Staten Island sequence, showing the messy fallout of Frank's methods and how the authorities respond to a vigilante who actually kills. It would have sharpened the contrast between Frank's lethal approach and Peter's absolute refusal to cross that line, the oldest argument in Spider-Man's entire world. So why remove it? A mix of tone and time. A grim Punisher vs. police standoff is heavy material that risks pulling focus from Peter and darkening the whole movie's tone. Rather than let the Punisher hijack the third act, the filmmakers reportedly kept his role tightly contained and left the standoff on the shelf. But cutting it also removed a chance to weigh 2 kinds of heroism against each other. The man who kills and the man who never will, standing together in the same grim aftermath. That contrast is the whole reason Spider-Man and the Punisher are such a great pairing. Trimming the standoff left a lot of that tension frustratingly unspoken. None of this is unusual, by the way. A blockbuster shoots far more footage than it can ever use, and the real movie is discovered in the edit, not written into the script. Every finished Marvel movie has a shadow version living in a vault, stuffed with scenes like these. Brand New Day just happens to have an especially juicy collection. Step back and a clear pattern emerges. Continuity cut the cameo, runtime cut the team-up, the rating cut the nightmares, and tone cut the Punisher standoff. 4 completed sequences, each one removed for a different and very deliberate reason. This was careful surgery, not lazy random trimming. So will we ever actually get to see them? Very possibly. Cut footage like this often resurfaces later as bonus deleted scenes on the digital and Blu-ray release. So keep an eye on those special features. The Claire Temple cameo especially would be an enormous get for a deleted scenes reel. So were these the right calls? Mostly, yes. Each cut made the final film tighter and more focused, but a couple of them, especially that hospital cameo, genuinely sting to lose. In the end, Brand New Day chose to be a leaner, clearer film, even if it meant burying a few incredible moments in the archive. So now it is your turn to decide. Of these 4 deleted scenes, the Claire Temple cameo, the villain team-up, the Man-Spider nightmares, or the Punisher standoff, which one would you have fought hardest to keep? There is no wrong answer because, honestly, every one of them sounds incredible. So tell me down in the comments which cutscene hurts the most to lose, and let me know what you want me to break down next. If you learned something new today, that subscribe button is right there. This has been the deleted scenes of Brand New Day, and I will see you in the next one.